Morning, this is Josh at Mass Gunworks. I wanted to take a minute and respond to some viewer comments. None of them were inappropriate. I'm not going to bash anybody, but some of you have pointed out some things that are constructive criticism that I greatly appreciate. But I wanted to take a minute to explain why I do things the way I do, and hopefully that'll clear stuff up. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're absolutely right. The one viewer, he said that he thought it was a little fishy that I used JB Weld, for instance, when I do bed jobs. And I want to address that specifically. Yes, there are things called industry standards, and I am extremely familiar with the concept of industry standards. I'm a firefighter, a paramedic full-time, and there are expectations of how I do my job based on common practice and industry standard that I have to follow. I may have a way that works just as good, but because it's not the common practice or industry standard, I can get myself thrown in the trick bag legally if I don't do stuff the way that follows that industry standard or common practice, because the things that I do when I'm at my full-time job, typically, someone's life or property is in danger, and I need to follow those industry standards and common practices because those are what the legal realm will judge my actions by should I get sued or have to go to court over, the help that I provided someone in the course of my duties. So that aside, so let's get back to gentleman's comment. The reason that I choose currently to use JB Weld is because it's accessible. Like I said before, I'm of the understanding that as long as you're using the correct grade of epoxy, and by that I mean that there are epoxies that are good for wood, there are epoxies that are good for plastics, and there are epoxies that are good for metal. So as long as you're using the same grade of epoxy, 9 times out of 10, epoxy is epoxy is epoxy. So that being said, I have tried to order Acroglass so I can use it, but things are really hard to get a hold of right now. Not everything, but certain things are getting really tough. And every time that I have attempted to go order Acroglass, it's been out of stock. And I deal with companies like Brownells, Midway. I'm sure that there's probably somewhere that I haven't tried yet that it is available. But at the places I typically shop that I would typically expect to find these items, they are out of stock. So that brings me to my next point. And I should have stated this probably close to the get-go, but one of my main purposes in doing what I do on this channel is to teach you guys who are working in your garage how to do these things with what you have available to you. And yes, I have high standards for the way I treat my customers, the way I take care of their firearms. And I don't want to make anybody think that I'm just, doing this the cheapest way possible because I'm a schlub and I don't want to do the job right. That's not the case at all. I have high standards if I do my work for my customers, and I try to take very good care of them. That being said, I know that there are things out there that I can use that are just as good. They'll get the job done, and they're actually accessible to me, so I can get these items back to them in a timely fashion without having to wait months and months and months for something to come back into stock. Okay. As a gunsmith, there are times when, a lot of times, when I just have to adapt and overcome. Make a part, find an alternate method. I try to be very diligent about explaining that to my customers and let them know, hey, I can do this way, and it's going to take this much longer, or I can do this other thing that's just as good and get your gun back to you within a couple days, couple weeks. So again, going back to the purpose of the channel, I want to provide content and information that is going to give you guys the tools you need at home in your garage to fix your weapon. Okay, so if you want to do a bed job, if you got an AR-15 that's having a problem and you need to replace a part, you know, I want to give you the tools and knowledge that you need to walk into your local hardware store and go, hey, I can use that. You know, I'm going to do another shop tips and tricks to cover some of this, but for instance, with the AR-15, the trigger pins, okay, let's say you lose a trigger pin, or one broke, aliens abducted it, who knows, but somehow you lost a trigger pin and you don't have access to them because they're out of stock, or you just can't afford to order them at the time. You can go to the hardware store and get some 4mm bolts, and those will fit right through those holes and they will work just fine. I have a less expensive, lower quality polymer lower that I have done some quote-unquote hillbilly work on, and I used the 4mm bolts for anti-walk pins because I wanted to see if it worked, and it did. It worked great. All of the roll pins on the AR-15 can be purchased at your local hardware store. There is an Ace Hardware about 30 minutes away from me in a town called Peru, and they have loads and loads of springs. I can go in there, I can buy almost any spring that I need for my AR. There are some of the holes on the AR, like the one for the rear takedown pin that's behind the backplate. I have found that it is extremely easy, because of what size that hole is, for me to just drill it out a little bit and replace that with a number 632 threaded stud screw. That does a few things, and again, I'll cover that in the shop tips and tricks. But anyway, that's the purpose of this channel. Okay, I want to teach you guys to do things the right way, but I also want to teach you that there are other ways to do it that may not necessarily be the right way by industry standard, but they get the job done. And sometimes that's all people want. But again, when it comes to my customers, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do things the right way. And if I have to come up with an alternate method, I'll make sure to discuss that with you beforehand, because that's just good customer service. So I hope this has been helpful, and maybe explained a few questions that y'all may have had. Keep them coming. I like the banter in the comment section, the questions, and the constructive criticism. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. Hope y'all have a good day. Bye.